everybody. Welcome to the Sharon and Joe midweek check-in. I was going to say Joe and Sharon, but should I say Sharon and Joe? Joe and Sharon? You
It's the
choose.
midweek check-in with Sharon and Joe.
All right, so midweek check-in.
Hump day.
Yes, it's hump day.
It's
and
check
we don't
your head day.
Check your head day?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard that.
Beastie Boys.
Sorry, I know the Beastie Boys, but not that. So,
okay.
I guess Joe's ahead of me on that. But so Joe, what brings you to the channel on a Wednesday?
I think one of the things was I wanted to thank everybody for the comments that they left on Monday regarding the finalization, the decree of my divorce. So thank you guys for the comments and the prayers and the encouragement. I really need it. Last Friday actually is when I found out that I got the letter from the attorney that I got divorced. It was finalized. But the same day, I also got notified from my employer that I was laid off of work, along with like 50% of the company. So it was kind of a double whammy. There was a sense of relief from the divorce, a little bit of somberness, and actually, in a weird way, a sense of relief from my job, because I've had the job for over 3 years, and I worked from home selling insurance. But this divorce has been going on for 2.5 years, and my mental faculties were kaputs, and I took no satisfaction really in my job, and I didn't have the wherewithal to get myself together to apply for other jobs going through this divorce. So in a way, the change needed to happen, and I kind of acknowledged it. So it's like starting over, and I do have some things, but at the same time, starting over in your 40s, mid-40s, late 40s, if I'm being honest, and left with the devastation of the narcissistic relationship is kind of scary at times.
Yeah, it is. Sometimes it just seems like, what do they say? When it rains, it pours, and that's definitely happening to you. But I think, in a way, it's almost like Joe and I, we try to be good Christians. And a lot of we can see God in this. We can just see God in the things that are happening. And I think even with you, it was just so, because the things, these are just private things Joe has told me about the way that he feels. And to have you get the divorce and laid off the same day, I see God in that. And that's a positive thing.
Yeah, I do. I do. I've learned that I can't wait to feel to be in the mood to do something. Like, I have to do what I have to do now. So in other words, I needed to get back to the gym. I needed to step up in my recovery, my support group meetings, to help keep me sober and keep my head in check. And thus the midweek check-in. And also, I had to redo my resume and apply for applications and job interviews and stuff. If I waited around until I felt like doing it, I would never get done, because I don't ever feel like doing any of that crap. It's like I tend to procrastinate on it. So I do it, regardless of how I feel. And thank God he doesn't require me to want to do it or to feel like I should or to be willing to do it. It's just do it, and then the results will come. So I'm doing the footwork, and hopefully, I'll act my way into better thinking, so to speak.
Well, through effort comes results, for sure. And, Joe and I thought we would talk a little bit tonight about starting over, right? Like, a lot of us were starting over, or if you're still with a narcissist, you're thinking about starting over. Because for a long time, I wanted to divorce my ex for a long time, but I was afraid to. I was afraid for several reasons. And I didn't even know he was a narcissist. When I discovered that he was a narcissist and all that goes along with that, how can you stay?
Well, at first you thought he was the 1% that maybe
Oh, God, yeah.
Now that I have a name for it, I could tell him about it, and then he could be all excited, and we could do some,
I'm going to tell you guys, I can't even believe I thought this way. So I discovered my ex was a narcissist with Shanann Watts. So some of you may remember her husband, Chris Watts, killed her and their 2 young daughters. You guys, I can't even tell you how shocked I was. It was just a regular day, and I was reading about this case, and it started becoming news. And then I read a little bit about it, and I recognized my ex in Chris Watts. Like, I recognized him, and I'm like, oh my God, I was married to Chris Watts. But at the same time, so here's this person that killed his family, murdered them viciously, heartlessly. And I thought, this reminds me, this is my husband. But at the same time, I thought, well, now that I know, I can, like, I was going to tell him, right? Oh, by the way, honey, I just want you to look over this little checklist of information because this is you. And then what's he going to say to me? Wow, you're so right. I'm so sorry. I'm going to learn to be a great man. And I don't know what I was thinking. I believe delusionally that he was that 1%. When you hear that 99% of narcissists don't change, if you're a positive person or you're afraid to get divorced, you have that 1%. Well, might as well be me, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So I'm thinking this psychopath, murderer, narcissist is my husband, but I don't need to think about leaving him because instead he will change because he loves me so much. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah, and then what was it? Was that after or before he was found in his car, passed out with a loaded gun?
That was before, because that was the whole Shanann Watts thing. The gun incident happened about a year later.
Yeah,
so he wasn't improving. My plan didn't work out.
No, it usually gets worse, never better. But talking about starting over too, Sharon, like we were talking today, we were trying to do Sharon's resume, and she graduated with a PhD in veterinary medicine, but she chose to be an at-home mom and was at home school with her children, who are brilliant kids. She did an awesome job. She's an awesome mom. But hasn't been in the workforce for 20 years, so it's like scary a little bit for you too, huh?
You know, I've worked the last couple of years, but it was really just little, like,
odd jobs, Sharon.
Nothing jobs. Like, I was working at a consignment place in New Hampshire. I don't want to tell you where I work now, but I work in retail now, and which I can't stand. But, it had to be that way for the time being, because when I started working in New Hampshire, it was because propane was so expensive. I don't know if anyone is in New Hampshire like this, or if you have propane. My house was 2,600 square feet, something like that. It cost $1,000 a month for propane, $1,000 a month. My mortgage was $3,200 a month. It was insane. So I was like, I got to get propane. When the kids and I lived in that house, we never used the heat at night, ever. We used the heat a couple of hours during the day, and I got my bill down to $750. Propane is outrageous. So I really went to work so I could pay for propane so that the kids and I could have heat. I mean, that's how desperate it was. Here, we could talk about this after the divorce, but there are reasons why I'm working the way that I am right now. But I need a career. Like not even necessarily a career, because I told Joe, like, I really don't want a career. I want to take care of my family and do what I have to do. But it's not like I'm 20 and I want to graduate college and go out into the workforce. Like Joe said, we're in our 40s. Like, that's not what I want. Joe and I have a breeding business we're working on, and a couple other things. We have a few other businesses. But a career, no. Like, now's the time when people start to slow down, and Joe and I are right at the starting line again. It sucks. Against,
like, in competition with the kids that are graduating college and got the degrees and are on the up and up, and here we are, like, duh, But it depends on how you look at it too. Like, I tend to have that battle in my mind sometimes. Is like, I'm teeter-tottering. Like, if it goes towards the negative, like, oh man, Joe, you're late 40s, like, is this ever going to end? This and that, and if I go that way, man, it's a really shitty day, and it could lead into a really bad spot for me. So I got to catch myself then and there and be like, no, I don't want to look at it like that, man. I've been through hell, literally. There's nothing worse that can happen to me, truly. I don't believe, like, as far as fear or pain. Maybe there is, but what I went through, like, this is nothing compared to that. So I can get through this.
What is that story you told me before about the tornado?
Oh, it's so a tornado hits Kansas, and a couple, older couple, married, the husband and wife, they go outside into their shelter place, and the tornado passes, and the husband comes out by, and he opens up the bilco doors, and he's like, oh, it looks great out here. The wind stopped blowing, Ma. Like, the tornado passed, there's no more wind, and forget about all the devastation and the farms and the cattle, like, and all that stuff, and it's just the wind stopped blowing and everything's great, grand again.
Yeah, that's like the narcissist, right? Like
Yeah.
you're living the exact same life and you see it in two completely different ways. Like Joe, you, me, a lot of you, you're standing in the middle of destruction, chaos, tragedy, like everything bad you could think. And the narcissist is just, looks like, a couple shingles fell off the roof or something.
Yeah, and then you got responsibilities on top of that, and they don't, like, I don't know, they're just happy wallowing in the mud. They don't care. Like, they just, if it affects them, they care, but, we have children and animals and stuff like that, so it gets a little bit scary, but I think it's, God has it this way, and if I put the burden on his shoulders and don't try to carry it myself, I think it's going to be okay.
Well, it is going to be okay. It's just that it's not ideal to start over like this. Like, it's horrible. And then it's like, for anybody who's involved with a narcissist, you have this issue where the other person doesn't partake in the recovery of your children or finances, literally nothing.
They're the worst. They're the like bastard child. I mean, they're like they're like the child that was like the evil one. You know what I mean? Like, I think of my exes, like my boys, I remember when they were young, like 10 and 7, and I was like, she's worse than me, either of them. And they were good kids, but what I meant was, like, she's the bad seed, man. She's like the bad example. Like, they're learning off of her, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's horrible. My ex hasn't seen his kids in years, like years. I mean, it's insane to me. And I can't, can you imagine? I can't even imagine being okay with that. But he doesn't care, but that's what you're dealing with. So, it's not like I have somebody that wants to help me with the kids.
A normal person.
Yeah, I can't even get money out of my ex to pay for my son's orthodontic care that he promised to pay. I literally had to borrow money from my daughter to get my son's treatment for orthodontics because my ex doesn't pay. And his lawyer's saying, well, he's just made out of money. Well, he hasn't done anything for his kids. I'm not made out of money either, but I figure out a way to pay for stuff.
Yeah, so we thought we'd do the check-in. It's kind of like just letting you guys know if you ever been in that position where you're starting over, and how is it like for you? Because, I mean, we're the authors of this channel, and it doesn't mean that we don't get scared or that we struggle or anything like that. We do, and I think it's just being positive as best as you can. And you're going to have times where you get a little bit scared and stuff like that, but we have each other. We have you guys, we have God. I mean, that's all we need.
I've told Joe so many times that when something bad happens, like what we're going through right now, dealing with, Joe and I laugh sometimes. It's like the worst possible time to start a relationship, right? We're both getting divorced. We have tons of burden. We're trying to deal with all these things that happened. But we see God in so many things, and if you're, so I said to Joe, I said it to him earlier today too, if you have to go through this stuff, right? Like whatever we're going through, we have to go through it. I mean, obviously, if we didn't have to, we wouldn't. So you have a choice. If you're going to have to do it, whether you're like have a good attitude or a bad attitude, it's your choice what attitude you have. And I know some people don't think that, but I'm telling you, I was telling Joe, we took a walk earlier. When my ex and I first split up, it was a really bad time. I had 2 weeks. Now, this could have been much longer. It stopped at 2 weeks. And I think God got involved in this. I was miserable. I was so upset. My ex had tried to get me arrested. I had a Child Protective Services investigation on me because my ex had tried to get me arrested. I wasn't working. I was a stay-at-home mom. My ex hadn't paid any bills I didn't know. Christmas was coming. I had no family, no friends. I literally was like, I'm going to die. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to drop dead. My kids are going to find my dead body in the morning. It was so bad. And then one day, I decided, no, I am not going to I was a single mom now. I knew this, and I knew there's no way I'm going to let my kids live in a household where I'm not happy. I want my kid, everything I do is for my kids. I homeschool my kids. I've been a stay-at-home mom because I love doing that. I love being around my kids. I love doing things with my kids. I love my kids. Not that other people don't, but I'm just saying, like, for me, I loved it. That's what I want. That's what I still want to do. But it's like, you have to do what you have to do. And I decided there is no way in hell I'm going to let my kids grow up in some miserable house where I'm always upset and depressed and they have to deal with that. And right then, I stopped. I started. No, I didn't always like this, but I would laugh when I didn't feel like it. I would do things with the kids when I didn't feel like it because it was for them. Because I wanted them to have a happy home. And they do have a happy home. They've gone through trauma, unfortunately, but they know me as happy. That's how they know me.
I wish it was that easy for me. Like, we're so different, our personality type, you know?
But it was like, I think God was involved in this because it was that easy for me. It was literally like one day, it was like I was hit with a lightning bolt. It's up to you, Sharon. It's up to you. It is up to you. You're going to have to go through this, whether you are laying in bed thinking you're going to have a heart attack or whether you're hanging out with your kids and watching a movie and smiling.
I think I would just suffered from major like CPTSD. Like, I was so hyper vigilant. It was horrible. I did what I had to do, and I told the kids they were going to be okay. But it was hard to hide. Like, they saw the one time I was upstairs just in tears, breaking down. They came in and I remember they put their arms around me and said, "It's going to be okay, Dad. We're proud of you." You know, and they're the reason why I'm still alive. You know, God is like, ultimately.
Yeah.
But you know, I told myself I'm not gonna give up. Like, it was all, well, a lot of it was for them. I had my codependency issues, my low self-worth, but a lot of it was because I loved my kids and I didn't want them to grow up like my brother and I did, where my father had left and my mother was an alcoholic and she later took her own life. Unfortunately, looking at my part in things, you know, they did come from a broken home, partly because of my dumbass decision and my codependency, maybe, of staying with the abuse for 20 years.
I think all our kids have been affected by being in a home where a narcissist lived. I mean, how could there not be? And then codependency. But I also think, you know, my daughter, so our daughter now, she's 19, and my ex, oh God, she was 16 when we split up. So the majority of her life, she lived with her narcissistic father. She told me that she barely remembers him being there. She just doesn't remember. She's like, I can't believe he ever lived with us. I don't remember that. And I was happy. At first I was like, huh? But in a way I can understand what she's talking about. But that's good. That's good for us. Because the kids, they take it better than we do. You know, for us, there's so much more involved in it. But kids do recover. They do. And so, like, for your kids, I mean, I know your kids. Like, everybody is going to be all right. It just, we have this guilt, though.
Yeah, I think that once I overcame my codependency, it gave them a chance to break the generations of garbage.
Codependency is really, that's for me, everything stopped. When I stopped being codependent, I thought differently, I felt differently. My life was different. Same with you.
It's so weird that, like, the birth of NPD and codependency are two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
You know, it's like childhood trauma, you become a codependent, or childhood trauma, you become a narcissist, you know, or you know, other cluster B personality disorders or other mental illnesses. But I would take a codependent any day to be that, as opposed to like a spineless jellyfish of a narcissist.
Codependents, by and large, are not cruel people. You know what I mean? I used to be a codependent. Joe, probably lots of you. I was never a bad person. I didn't look at life right. And, you know, I don't know. I stayed where I shouldn't have. I guess I had no self-worth, really.
It all boils down to me, to self-worth. It all of it does. My whole relationship with God, it's intermeshed with my self-worth. Is if he saw it fit for me to be saved from narcissistic abuse, then I must be worth something. I mean, that's the birth of my self-worth. It always has been. See, me on the other hand, like being a codependent, I was rotten when I was little. Like I was an alcoholic and a drug addict. You know what I mean? So it's not like I was a saint. But I did have the ability to have some insight. I had some self-honesty, and I had empathy, you know?
But the way that you feel about yourself is like you personally, Joe, you, I know, suffered from self-worth, and maybe you did bad things when you were younger, but I know you as a person. You love your family. You're responsible. Like, it's not that you were a bad person. You just made bad choices because you didn't have that self-worth.
Well, thank God I was able to make amends and to change.
Yeah.
And I needed God's help for that. But I had to be able to look. And I used that same method of getting sober, the same method of getting over a narcissistic relationship, because I saw it as like a drug. And the no contact to me was like complete abstinence from drugs and alcohol. And I use the same kind of step work that I use to recover from alcoholism and drug addiction as the same step work I use to recover from a hopeless state of mind and body with the narcissist.
You know, I'm going to end the video in a minute, but I want to say something to give people hope. Like when I just told you that I literally had this 2 weeks of hell, and I know some of you are probably like, oh, boo-hoo, 2 weeks. It easily could have been longer than that. Like, I really believe.
It was for me.
Yeah, it was for you, yes. God came in, and I changed. Like, immediately I changed. And that's what happened. The same thing happened with codependence, actually. I was codependent. I've told the story before, and I wasn't. That's what happened to me. But I want to tell you, with my own kids, a lot of times, all the time, I use the real things that happened to me to tell you, because I know if it happened to me, it can happen to you. I'm not like unique in any way. I'm not particularly strong, or like, I'm really not. I told you my kids, the way that my daughter, she told me that she couldn't really remember her father living there. When I was codependent, the things I let happen in my own life to my own kids, I mean, it's incredible. And Joe just said, like, a lot of times you have the codependent narcissist, and then your kids are codependent narcissists. My kids haven't had a relationship with their father. They haven't had any contact with him for years, a couple of years. Now, my ex gave them the silent treatment for 2 years. When he started, all of a sudden, the silent treatment's over, and he's just going to pretend that, like, Joe
Nothing
with this
happened.
tornado, like,
Yep.
there's nothing to see here. Neither child wants anything to do with him because of how they treated them. I'm sorry, didn't want anything to do with him because of how he treated them. I'm not sure if I said that right or not. It's like weird. It's like this weird thing for me, because part of me is like, I hate that my kids don't have a father. I mean, they do, like, because Joe is like a dad to them, but they don't, like, their biological father, they don't have anything to do with him. And that makes me sad. And I'm not one of these people that's like, oh, I don't want my kids to see their father. That's not how I feel. I feel that way because of his actions, because he's been violent and intimidated us, and, you know, my kids are afraid of him. Both of them, they had at their, like, my son is 16, my daughter's 19. They, at their age, on their own, they know they deserve better than that. They don't want to give him any way in their life because of the way that he treated them. That, in a way, makes me so proud, despite just, I mean, I know how that seems weird to be proud of that, but
It's not
they know what they deserve.
It's not a normal person. Like, you're dealing with somebody that never even said that they were sorry. And even if they did, which they didn't, like, they couldn't even tell you what they did that they're sorry for. You're not dealing with a normal human being. I mean, I told you about that. You guys ever see that Darwin evolution theory where they got the, like, from the Neanderthal to the ape to the whatever to the human being? Well, there's like a splinter off there in this, like, a subcategory, cluster B personality. So in particular, malignant narcissists. Like, it's not like I'm happy that they don't want anything to do with them because I don't like them. I'm happy because they have enough self-worth to say, I don't give a shit if you're my wife, my husband, my brother, my sister, or anybody. You are not to treat me that way. And if you're my father, that's even worse. Shame on you.
Yeah.
And that's, God bless them for that.
You know, Joe and I have spoken so many times, you know, about one of the reasons that we're together now, where we live together and we're raising our kids together, because we want our kids, we are so focused on our family. We want our kids to have every opportunity to thrive in life. And part of that is having like a real home, not just living in this, not that there's anything wrong with it. I really don't think that there is, but we had the opportunity to not have like a single parent home. So here we are, like we're raising our kids, and guys, it's so good for them. And it makes me feel so good. Even like your youngest, there were a couple things that he said that it makes me feel good. Like there's some hope that they recognize
What's
their
the
own
normal
value.
Yeah, they recognize their value, and what's the normal family like before they go out into the real world. Not everybody gets to experience that, but even if they don't, if they know their own value, then there's no bad example. They know what not to do and what to give. Like my ex, like myself, had childhood trauma and wasn't raised by her mother. Like you would think if she had kids, like I want them to have a mom, and I'm going to give them the things that I never had. That's how I was. It was the complete opposite with her.
We'll have to talk more about this in the future. Like I think moving on after you've been with a narcissist, because there really is, and a lot of us, I mean, don't you wish that you were with the narcissist for like a year or a couple months and then realize what the problem was? But our kids are like that, thank God. At least we paid for them as well. But geez, you guys, starting over in your 40s is definitely less than ideal.
Yeah, and we say this to hold ourselves accountable. This is kind of like a healing journey for us, and trying to give anybody out there who hasn't been down this road yet a heads up of what to expect, what to do, what not to do. And we keep it real with you guys, so we'll let you know how it goes on a weekly basis. And thank you for all the inspiration and the comments that you guys gave, and God bless you.
Yeah, guys, just to have some hope, I'm going to tell you, if you are still in a relationship with a narcissist, the best advice I can give you is work on why you're still with a narcissist. Work on yourself, because once that happened to both Joe and I, once we started working on ourselves, it would just, you won't put up with the stuff that you put up with when you're still fully codependent.
It all changed for me. It all changed when, after I was no contact for a couple of months, and I asked myself, well, if she was a problem, why are you still miserable?
Not to say the narcissist isn't really the issue, but if you work on yourself, you can get through anything.
You're able. That's when I started looking at myself and saying, okay, definitely it's a given. The narcissist is a problem. It's obvious, but the real problem was between my ears and my codependency. And I couldn't fix it myself, and I needed God's help. And
we don't even realize, we just don't realize.
Yeah, it was. But most empaths, thank God, are gifted with the ability of insight and a little bit of honesty and a little bit of courage. And that's when my perspective shifted, and it was that shift in perspective that brought about a long educational, spiritual experience.
So I think I said I was going to say one more thing and then end the video, but I think that was maybe like 10 minutes ago. So I guess Joe and I always go really long on our videos. So thank you if you're still listening. And I have little Fiona here on my lap. She's been so good the whole time.
She's spoiled. I call her Fiona Virus.
Yeah, but she's my dog now. She's mommy's little girl. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I will see you on Friday. So I hope everybody has a great rest of the week. And I guess, Joe, you probably won't be here on Friday, but you never know.
Yeah,
but maybe you can pop in and say hi. But we'll definitely see you on Monday.
Yep.
All right. Bye, everybody.
God bless you guys. Have a good night.